Amusement parks are meant to be places of fun and excitement, but sometimes things can go horribly wrong. In this video, we'll look at 5 real stories of the worst amusement park ride accidents of all time, events that turned moments of joy into unforgettable tragedies. It was July 8, 2011, in Darien Lake Theme Park, New York. Sergeant James Hackemer, a 29-year-old Iraq War veteran and double amputee, visited the amusement park with his family. This trip was meant to celebrate James's resilience after surviving life-changing injuries during his second deployment in Iraq. In 2008, James's vehicle hit an explosive device, resulting in the loss of his left leg and most of his right leg, along with brain damage and strokes. After 6 weeks in a coma, he overcame major challenges, relearning basic skills through intensive therapy. By 2011, James was adapting to life with prosthetic legs, living in his hometown of Gowanda, New York with his parents. His determination to embrace life was evident in his love for adventure and time spent with his daughters. That summer, he and his family, including his nephew Ashton Luffred, decided to visit Darien Lake, about 30 miles from Buffalo, for a day of fun. One of the park's main attractions was the Ride of Steel, a towering roller coaster with steep drops and speeds exceeding 70 miles per hour. While the ride offered an exhilarating experience, it had strict safety requirements, including proper lap bar and seatbelt restraints. Riders needed to meet specific physical conditions to ensure their safety. The park's guidelines prohibited individuals with certain physical disabilities, including those without lower limbs, from boarding. Despite restrictions, James was allowed on the ride. Witnesses later said staff didn't check if the restraints were secure. James and Ashton sat in the front row, excited for the ride, with moments like these symbolizing a return to normalcy for James. Tragically, during a high-speed section of the coaster, James was ejected from his seat and fell into a grassy area below. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but James did not survive the incident. Ashton, seated beside him, was unharmed but deeply shaken by what happened. An investigation revealed that the ride's restraints were properly engaged when the coaster returned to the station. However, James's physical condition made it impossible for the restraints to provide adequate support. The park temporarily closed the ride as state officials and the county sheriff's office launched an inquiry. They concluded that the ride itself had no mechanical issues, but the tragedy occurred because the park's safety rules were not enforced. The park's guidelines clearly state that riders must have both legs to ride safely. Sheriff Gary Maha confirmed that allowing James to board violated these safety protocols. Despite this, no criminal charges were filed against the park or its employees. James's family, while devastated, chose not to place all blame on the park. His mother, Nancy Hackemer, reflected on their gratitude for the extra years they had with James after his injuries. She found some solace in knowing that he had been doing something he loved. The incident showed concerns about enforcing safety rules for riders with unique physical needs. While the park had clear guidelines in place, staff did not follow them in this instance. Witnesses reported that no one questioned James's ability to safely ride the coaster. The Ride of Steel had faced safety issues before. In 1999, shortly after opening, a rider fell 10 feet while the coaster was braking, leading to a $2.85 million settlement after the park was found liable. James's passing was a deep loss for his family and community. He was remembered for his love of sports and time with his daughters, Addison and Kaylin. The Ride of Steel symbolized his adventurous spirit and quest for freedom. His story highlighted the need for safety protocols, especially for those with unique challenges. It was June 23, 2010, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, when a devastating accident took the life of 21-year-old Lindsay Zeno. Lindsay, a lively and cheerful young woman from Lafayette, spent the day at Dixieland Amusement Park with friends. Known for its family-friendly rides, the park was a popular destination. That afternoon, what was supposed to be an exciting day turned into a tragic nightmare. Lindsay, her friend Courtney Marks, and another companion decided to try the park's newest ride, the Extreme roller coaster. The ride, designed for thrill seekers, featured spinning seats, steep drops, and sharp turns. While Courtney and her other friends sat in the front row, Lindsay took a seat alone at the back. Meanwhile, Courtney's young daughter and another child waited nearby on a bench. As the roller coaster raced along the steel tracks, witnesses noticed something alarming. Lindsay appeared to have trouble with her chest harness, which was meant to keep riders securely in their seats. A bystander, Tabitha Arnold, later shared that the restraint seemed to come undone. Lindsay was seen trying to pull it back into place. Tragically, as the ride rounded a sharp turn, she was ejected from her seat and fell approximately 30 feet to the ground below. Witnesses were horrified by what they saw. Tabitha described the scene, recounting how the restraint over the victim's chest came loose. The victim tried to pull it back into place, but as the ride made a sharp turn, she was unable to secure it. In an instant, she fell to the ground. Tabitha later reflected that it was the most horrifying thing she had ever witnessed. Unaware of the incident, Courtney and her friend completed the ride. When it ended, Courtney turned to check on Lindsay and was horrified to realize her seat was empty. Turning around, she saw the empty seat and immediately panicked. Both Courtney and her friend reacted with screams as the realization set in. Paramedics were called to the scene and Lindsay was rushed to a hospital, but she tragically passed away shortly after arrival. Dixie Landon expressed their condolences, stating that they were deeply saddened by the accident. They confirmed that an investigation by the State Fire Marshal's office had been initiated and extended their sympathies to the victim's family during this difficult time. The Louisiana Office of State Fire Marshal launched an investigation. Early inspections of the Extreme coaster found no mechanical failures. State Fire Marshal Butch Browning confirmed the track was intact and all components worked. The investigation, which would take time, focused on the chest harness to check for malfunctions or improper use. The ride had passed a safety inspection a month earlier with no issues. Witnesses speculated that Lindsay might have unintentionally tampered with the restraint, but no concrete evidence confirmed this. Adding to the uncertainty, no one saw exactly what occurred inside the ride. Ultimately, the investigation concluded without determining a definitive cause for Lindsay's fall. Following the accident, the Extreme roller coaster remained closed as safety modifications were made. The park did not disclose the specific updates, but the changes aimed to prevent similar accidents. Despite the adjustments, Lindsay's family filed a lawsuit against Dixie Landon, alleging that faulty equipment played a role in her death. This incident raised broader concerns about amusement park safety and whether enough measures were in place to protect visitors. This tragedy was not the first safety issue at Dixie Landon. In 2006, a 2-year-old boy, Kobe Carter, fell 25 feet from the Over the Rainbow ride, sustaining serious injuries. The park stated that children under 48 inches tall were required to ride with a parent, but the boy's family claimed no height restrictions were posted. That same year, another guest, Diana Landry, sued the park after being injured on the Kanya ride, which lacked proper safety restraints. These incidents prompted questions about whether the park's safety standards were adequate. For those close to Lindsay, the pain of her loss remains. Courtney Marks, deeply affected by witnessing the tragedy, relies on her family for support as she copes with the trauma. Lindsay's story is a reminder of the critical importance of thorough safety measures and regular equipment checks in amusement parks. Her family and friends continue to mourn her loss, cherishing her memory while hoping that improved safety standards can prevent such tragedies in the future. It was July 26, 2017, at the Ohio State Fair in Columbus, Ohio. Tyler Jarrell, an 18-year-old high school senior, was visiting the fair with his girlfriend, Keziah Lewis. Earlier that day, Keziah had attended her grandfather's funeral, and the couple hoped to lighten the somber mood by enjoying the fair's lively attractions, including its food, games, and rides. The Ohio State Fair had been a cherished annual event for over 160 years, drawing crowds eager for fun and excitement. Among the many rides, the Fireball stood out. This pendulum-style ride was known for its swinging and spinning thrilling riders as it soared several feet into the air. Tyler and Keziah joined others eager for an adrenaline rush, unaware of the tragedy that would unfold. At about 7:20 p.m., the Fireball began operating as usual, thrilling riders with its rapid movements. However, some passengers soon felt the ride was malfunctioning and shouted at the operator to slow it down. Moments later, disaster struck. A gondola carrying riders detached from the main structure, sending passengers plummeting 50 feet onto the midway below. Tyler Jarrell was among those ejected and tragically lost his life upon impact. Keziah sustained serious injuries, including fractures to her pelvis, ankles, and ribs. 7 others were injured, some critically. Witnesses described the scene as chaotic and horrifying, with people screaming and rushing to assist those hurt. Julian Bellinger, who had been waiting in line for the ride, recalled the ride shaking violently before the gondola broke free. He and others were recording each other when they noticed the commotion. He said that people on the ride were yelling to slow it down, and then the incident occurred. Emergency responders arrived quickly, tending to the injured and evacuating the area. Keziah was taken to the hospital in critical condition and underwent multiple surgeries. Her mother, Clarissa Williams, stayed by her side and later had to break the devastating news of Tyler's death. Tyler's passing deeply affected his community. A recent high school graduate, Tyler had just enlisted in the United States Marines and was preparing for basic training. He was described as dedicated, selfless, and hardworking. Tyler was actively involved in the Navy Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps, or NJROTC, the Boy Scouts, and the Columbus Police Explorer Program. Friends, family, and co-workers mourned the loss of a young man who had touched so many lives. Keziah, a journalism student at the University of Cincinnati, faced a long recovery, both physically and emotionally. Despite her injuries, she found hope in advocating for improved safety measures. She later shared that knowing the fair would be safer because of the incident helped her cope with everything. Investigators discovered that the ride's failure was due to extreme corrosion in a support beam, a defect that went unnoticed during inspections. KMG, the ride's manufacturer, expressed condolences and suspended similar rides worldwide. The Fireball had been inspected and approved by state officials just hours before the accident, raising concerns about inspection protocols. Following the incident, Ohio Governor John Kasich ordered a temporary shutdown of all fair rides for further inspection. Other states and countries also took action, suspending similar rides to ensure safety. In the months after the tragedy, Tyler's mother, Amber Duffield, became a strong advocate for improved amusement ride safety. She worked with lawmakers to create Tyler's Law, aimed at strengthening inspection standards and increasing oversight. The proposed law included requiring professional engineers on advisory boards, better reporting of ride repairs, and clearer definitions for major maintenance work. 2 years after the accident, Tyler's Law advanced in the Ohio House of Representatives, passing unanimously in committee. Amber expressed gratitude for the progress, noting that the changes were not just for Tyler, but for everyone who deserved to feel safe at a fair. Keziah and her mother also supported the legislation, sharing their story to encourage change. Keziah expressed that the law helped her believe fairs could be fun again without constant worry. The tragedy led to broader changes in ride safety. Other states adopted stricter inspection protocols, and manufacturers faced increased scrutiny. The accident underscored the importance of thorough safety measures and prompted changes designed to prevent similar incidents. Tyler's story became a symbol of advocacy and resilience. Amber Duffield's work to honor her son's memory has inspired others, ensuring that Tyler's legacy will continue to promote safety and change. December 24, 1998 started as an exciting day for the Dawson family. Luan Phi Dawson, a 33-year-old Microsoft software engineer, had traveled from Duvall, Washington to Disneyland with his wife, Lu Tui Vuong, their 6-year-old son, and their 8-year-old grandson. The trip was part of a 10-day holiday getaway, and the family looked forward to enjoying the magic of the happiest place on earth. However, their festive plans ended in tragedy. The incident happened at Disneyland's Rivers of America attraction, specifically at the Columbia, a replica of an 18th century tall ship. This iconic attraction was known for its peaceful rides along the water, but on that morning a routine docking procedure went wrong. At 10:40 a.m. as the Columbia approached the dock, a Disney employee began securing the ship with a heavy mooring rope. In a critical error, the rope was tied to a metal cleat, a cast iron piece used to secure the vessel that wasn't designed to handle the strain of the still-moving ship. The pressure caused the bolts holding the cleat to snap. The 9-pound piece of metal broke loose and was flung into the crowd on the dock. The flying cleat first hit a Disney employee, Christine Carpenter, breaking her ankle, before striking Dawson in the head and his wife, Vuong, in the face. Dawson suffered severe head injuries, collapsing immediately, while Vuong sustained significant facial injuries. Their son and grandson witnessed the horrific scene, unable to intervene as chaos unfolded. Park staff quickly called emergency services. Dawson and Vuong were rushed to the University of California at Irvine Medical Center, while Carpenter was taken to Western Medical Center for her leg injuries. Despite the efforts of medical teams, Dawson's condition was critical. He had a fractured skull and severe brain injuries. 2 days later, on December 26, Dawson was declared brain dead. His family made the heartbreaking decision to remove him from life support. Vuong remained hospitalized, facing a long recovery that included multiple surgeries to repair the damage to her face. This was Disneyland's first ride-related fatality since 1984, and the 9th since the park opened in 1955. The incident sparked investigations by California's Division of Occupational Safety and Health, revealing significant problems. The Disney employee involved hadn't been properly trained for the procedure, and maintenance of the Columbia was called into question. Former employees also alleged that staffing cuts and poor upkeep contributed to the accident. While Disney denied negligence, these issues highlighted gaps in safety practices. The Columbia was closed for several months during the investigation. Disneyland cooperated with authorities and implemented changes, including better training for staff and stricter maintenance and operational protocols. These measures aim to prevent similar incidents from occurring in the future. The tragedy also led to broader changes in California law. New amusement park safety legislation was passed to improve oversight and hold parks accountable for ensuring visitor safety. For Vuong and her family, the impact of the accident was devastating. Her physical recovery involved extensive surgeries, but the emotional scars were even harder to heal. The loss of her husband and the trauma experienced by her children cast a long shadow over their lives. The family's grief was compounded by the fact that this tragedy occurred during what was meant to be a joyful holiday celebration. Dawson's death deeply affected his community in Duval. Friends and neighbors remembered him as a kind and talented person who was dedicated to his family and his work. His passing left a void in their lives, as well as a reminder of how quickly life can change. Disneyland faced lawsuits from the Dawson family and others involved. While the details of the settlements remain confidential, Disney also faced fines from California's Division of Occupational Safety and Health for safety violations. Paul Pressler, then president of Walt Disney Attractions, issued a public apology and pledged to improve safety measures across the park. Despite these actions, the incident tarnished Disneyland's reputation, raising concerns about the risks behind its cheerful attractions. The tragic death of Luan Fee Dawson was a preventable loss that reshaped safety standards at Disneyland. For his family, the holiday season will forever be a reminder of that devastating day. Although changes were made to improve safety, the Dawson family's loss underscores the importance of vigilance and accountability in protecting the well-being of amusement park visitors. It was September 2009, a sunny day at Knott's Berry Farm in Buena Park, California. The park was bustling with visitors, including 12-year-old Kyle Wheeler and his parents, Russell and Anita. Excited to experience the park's famous Cellerator roller coaster, the family was ready for a thrilling day. The Cellerator, known for its hydraulic launch, accelerated riders from 0 to 82 miles per hour in just 2.3 seconds. It was a favorite attraction, but for the Wheelers it would become a day etched in their memories for tragic reasons. Kyle and Russell sat in the coveted front row of the ride, eager for the view ahead. Anita stayed on the ground, camera in hand to capture the moment. After routine safety checks, the ride attendants ensured the lap restraints and seat belts were secure. Everything seemed normal as the train moved to the launch track, building anticipation among the riders. As the hydraulic system engaged, the train surged forward at high speed. Excitement turned to fear when a loud snap echoed across the park. The launch cable, critical to propelling the train, suddenly broke. The severed cable whipped toward the train, tearing through its fiberglass structure and striking Kyle's leg, leaving him with a deep and severe injury. Debris also hit Russell, though his injuries were minor. The train came to an abrupt halt and chaos followed. From the ground, Anita watched in horror, unable to comprehend the unfolding scene. The ride's onboard camera captured the terrifying moment, and the footage later spread widely online, sparking discussions about amusement park safety. Emergency responders quickly arrived, finding Kyle in severe pain and bleeding heavily. He was rushed to the hospital, where doctors discovered significant damage to his calf muscle and tissue. He underwent several surgeries, including skin grafts, to repair the injury. Kyle faced months of grueling physical therapy to regain mobility, and though he showed remarkable determination, doctors warned he might need future surgeries to improve functionality. Meanwhile, Russell recovered from his minor injuries, but the emotional toll on the family was profound. Kyle experienced recurring nightmares, and Anita struggled with the haunting memory of the incident. As Kyle began his long recovery, investigators examined the cause of the accident. They discovered that the ride's launch cable, designed to be inspected monthly per manufacturer recommendations, was only checked every 6 months at the park. Worse, the most recent inspection was nearly 3 weeks overdue. While the manufacturer, Intamin, admitted the maintenance guidelines were somewhat unclear, investigators determined that the park's failure to follow the recommended schedule played a critical role in the incident. In 2011, Kyle's family reached a confidential settlement with Knott's Berry Farm, covering his medical treatments and the emotional distress caused by the event. While the settlement provided financial relief, it could not undo the trauma endured by the family. In response, the park issued a statement affirming its commitment to rider safety, asserting that the cable had been replaced regularly, with the most recent replacement in December 2008. However, the state investigation revealed shortcomings in the park's maintenance practices, exposing riders to unnecessary risks. The Cellerator remained closed for months, undergoing repairs and inspections before reopening in April 2010. Despite these measures, public trust in the ride and the park's safety standards were significantly affected. This incident raises serious questions about amusement park safety and accountability. Could the accident have been avoided if the park adhered to the recommended inspection schedule? What if early signs of of wear on the cable had been detected, the unanswered what-ifs continue to weigh heavily on those involved and serve as a reminder of the importance of strict safety protocols. Kyle Wheeler's life was irrevocably altered by the events of that day. His resilience in facing the physical and emotional challenges is commendable, but the tragedy highlights the potential consequences of overlooked safety measures. As visitors to amusement parks, we trust that the attractions are thoroughly maintained, but this incident underscores the importance of vigilance to ensure that trust is not misplaced.